Yes.
Oh, there's okay, good.
That was close.
I don't know. Good one.
If I heard my ching, ching, ching. Okay, Andy?
Andy can't make it today, and neither can Mylon.
Oh. I'm like, I just showered, literally just.
You don't come in? She's on the Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, good, because I couldn't hear you guys there for a little while. I didn't know what was going on.
nobody was talking.
Oh, is that what it was? There was pure
Yes.
silence?
It was just silence.
Or you're all,
You're freezing on us, Theone.
Theon, you're on mute.
I may have to have some words with Verizon after this. I don't,
It's
are
muted
we
again.
ready?
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thanks, everyone. Welcome to a regular meeting of the Goldendale City Council for September 3rd. Shelley, would you please take roll call?
Steve Johnston,
Here.
Theon Wheeler,
Here,
Lauren Meeker,
Here.
Ellie Casey. Here. Andy Holm. On. Danielle Cleveland. Here. And Mylan Wallen is gone.
I got a phone call from both Myland earlier today and Andy that they weren't going to be able to make this meeting. Do I have a motion to excuse Myland and Andy?
So moved.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to excuse Mylan and Andy. Unless there's any comment. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay, we'll move along. Next item on the agenda is closed public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment on an agenda topic? Anybody on the line with their hand up? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda?
I move to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda and the consent agenda. Any discussion or? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to presentations. And we have a presentation from the Mount Adams Transportation by Sharon Carter.
Yeah, so I'm Sharon Carter. I'm the Director of Clickitat County Senior Services, which also has Mount Adams Transportation Service. And I have Emily Reed here as well. And Emily is a consultant with Gorge Transit and is also with the Gorge Tourism Alliance. And we had been invited to come to a couple of city council meetings like at Jen and White Salmon to talk about transportation. in the gorge and transit and things that have changed. And so I thought it would be good to also come to Goldendale to do update on kind of what has happened with transportation in the gorge in recent years, because there's been quite a bit of development outside of just our dial ride service. And then also kind of what we're looking at to the future. So we have a presentation that kind of gives a history and also some interaction regarding transportation.
Thank you so much. Hopefully the tech works. For some reason, my computer is shut all of audio down, but I'm still here. So hoping that this works. But I would like to share my presentation because we do have some fun things that we'd like to, am I able to share? With the Zoom? Thank you so much. Okay. I believe.
Wonder if you mute your audio on Zoom.
I did, everything was muted. I am not quite sure what to do. You know what I might do is, I don't,
Can you turn your speaker all the way down?
I did it, everything is down, everything is muted. The only thing is I'm playing with this for the first time, so I might shut this off until we can do this video. Does that work? I honestly don't know what's going on.
Well, Mylan is our tech expert and he's not here tonight, so.
Is it really bothering you?
No.
Or is it just,
No.
okay,
The only thing that it might affect is when we play our microphone back, it's very sensitive, so it might be maybe hard to type out any minutes, but we'll make do.
Could she go in another room there? Cause she's on Zoom there. If she was in a different location, you're gonna hear her voice on the Zoom.
Yeah.
And then we'll pick it up here.
I can go give the presentation.
It's okay, well. I don't
Picked
think
out
it's
by
gonna
the
be
chief
too
of
loud.
police, just like that.
Okay. I'm gonna ignore it and just. How's that? Oh, it worked this time.
Oh, good.
Okay, yay. Thank you so much for your patience.
No problem.
We are very excited to talk to you about transit and if you don't look ahead in your presentations, that'll be helpful because we have a fun interactive presentation for you. We've tried to make it fun. Transit fun, maybe.
Nice.
We'll see. So we are going to though, just start with a question. How many of you have ever ridden a bus in the gorge? Anyone?
School bus.
No, sorry.
Oh. Oh, okay.
One online. Hi, Roger, it's Emily. Okay, that's okay. We'll figure out a way of doing this. We'll try to talk you into at least trying one bus ride by the end of our, so that's my goal, is to inspire you to try once. So, but I am going to start out, and basically the way that we have this arranged is that we can pick a topic in any order. I am gonna start with brief history, because I think that it's good to give you context, and then we'll be able to have fun and answer some quizzes to see who gets to choose. Okay, brief history. So transit in the gorge has really grown very fast. So in 2011, we had our very first fixed route bus route, and that went from Stevenson to Vancouver. Going ahead, they added Dog Mountain, which was a very popular, crowded trailhead during the spring. So they added a bus so that people wouldn't have their cars pile up and get hurt on the freeway. And then in 2017, Hood River added their routes. And then flash forward to 2021, and we have 4 different counties in the gorge, all with their own transit system. And so they are all now functioning and working with a lot of different routes. I'm gonna ask you how many in a second. Yeah, that's gonna be a question. And there's a coordinated gorge transit organization with a shared website. So if you want to get anywhere in the gorge, you go to this website, you find out what the schedules are, and you go. Super easy, all coordinated, everybody's scheduled in one place. In 2021, they got together and created the Gorge Pass, which is a pass that either lives on your phone or is in your wallet, like a card. And you flash that, it's $40 a year. You flash that, you can hop on, hop off any of the buses in the gorge, including the ones that go into Portland and Vancouver. So this was a really great way for all of the bus services to work together seamlessly. Pull out your card, you're good on any bus. This was supported by social media, getting the word out, a newsletter, lots of information, all sorts of, we also tried to get folks from Portland to leave their cars behind and come in by bus. So there's a lot of outreach there to say, hey, come on by bus. There's lots of reasons to do that. Congestion and going to Multnomah Falls, for example, got so crowded that they started a rotating parking system. But if you go by transit, you do not have to do reservations or pay or do anything, just show up. We also have posters. We've been to a lot of different events. So Goldendale Days each year, the rodeo last year, all of the farmers markets, just getting the word out. Also, we have a Gorge Equity Fund. So $1 of every pass goes to buying passes for folks who need a little bit of assistance and maybe can't afford it. So the Gorge Equity Fund allows us to do that. All of this, that's all kind of what's happened in the past. What we're doing now is executing the Gorge Regional Transit Strategy. This strategy was pulled together through many, many months with a lot of different folks chiming in, making sure that the vision for the future for transit in the Gorge is what everybody is wanting. And now what we're doing is what they're doing. It's actually kind of a great seat for me to be watching what the transit providers are doing. They are basically going from nothing to this amazing system within very few years. The Gorge Transit Strategy is a big part of that. And what they're focusing on now is a lot of coordination, more and more coordination. So if you think about the way a bus system works, most of the time, if you're thinking of a transit system, it's one system. We're talking about 4 different ones coming together and making them work together. It's not easy, but what they're doing is really thinking of ways to streamline so that as a rider, you arrive at a bus stop, you get on to the next transit transfer right away without waiting. There's all sorts of, you know where you're going, it's just really easy. You don't have to think about it. That's really the goal, is to make sure everything is super easy for the rider. So there's a lot of things doing: outreach and education, data collection, route coordination. Route coordination is basically, there's Goldendale in the blue, is making sure that when you get on the bus and you go to the Dalles, say you want to go to Portland, you don't have to wait, right? So a lot of the things that have been improved even over the last couple of months are making that seamless so that the transfer is right away. You're not having to wait like you did in the past, because again, the transit system here wasn't built for working with everybody else. And that's something we're making happen. So one of the things we're doing is called pulsing. So the buses are timed so that they're at the same place, same time. So you just hop on one and get on the other and go. So now what's super exciting is you used to, in order to go to Goldendale to the airport, for example, without having to spend a huge amount of money on parking your car for 3 weeks, you no longer have to do that. You can hop on the bus in Goldendale, go immediately in the morning, all the way to the Dalles and Hood River, and then Portland to the airport. And it costs $40, $40 annual fee. And you don't have to wait. So the morning coordination is straight now, and then the last bus in the evening is now straight. There are still a few in the middle of the day that you have to wait a little bit, but huge progress.
But to bring out too, one of the advantages that we have in participating in the Gorge Pass, because you're like, oh, you know, if people aren't necessarily riding into Portland, it is providing funding, because we're the people that are buying passes too that are going state of Portland to Hood River, we are getting a share of that fare revenue from that pass. So the Portland people buying passes and that, we're getting that money to come to help support transportation in Clickitat County. Because that is one of our barriers is money. We don't have a tax funded transit system. We are grant funded with some in-kind and cash support from county solid waste revenue, but the rest is grants. And us being able to get some more fare revenue and offset some of those costs allows for us to look at ways to get more transportation and things that, you know, with a fixed route. People that are able to just get on a bus and go, you know, we have people that are using it to get to the doctor's appointments and things in the in the Dalles as well, or people coming up here. And so there are more benefits for us with that Gorge Transit Pass, because we wouldn't really, if we were just selling them locally, we don't get a whole lot of fare, because it's $1 to ride the bus. But if we're doing those $40 passes and we get people and tourists coming up that are going to Hood River and that, we're still getting a piece of that pie to help support our transportation.
Which has always been our goal, in addition to getting them out of their cars. Okay, so that's a little brief history. That's just a really, a quick snapshot of what's happening with Gorge Transit. So now we have the fun bit. So I'm gonna ask you a question. Ready? How many times a day does the bus go from here, Goldendale, into the Dalles each day during the week?
5.
Oh, very close. You win. It's 4.
Oh,
Yay.
I was gonna say 4.
That's why you're the mayor.
Okay, pick a topic, any topic.
Bikes.
Okay, do you know that you can throw your bike on any bus in the gorge? You can go to a number of different places where you can hop off, take your bike off, go for a ride, put the bike back on and come back off. So we have a map that you can get to on gorgepass.com, and it shows all of the different paths you can get it on, all the places you can get to by bus stop. Cycling is $133 billion industry, and I don't know if you know, we're like very, very close to having a route that goes from Portland all the way to the Dalles. And with no being on the freeway, so if they're in the very last mile, billions and billions of dollars to finish that last mile, but when that happens, we'll get a lot more folks on bikes coming out this way. Huge change too with coming in the next about 10 years. So bikes on a bus is a great way to go. Okay, great. I'm gonna see, I can't be looking up there. I love tech. Okay. What percentage of time is a car parked? What percentage of its life?
$95.
Yeah, exactly. Are you looking at the last page?
Nope,
Oh,
promise.
good job. That's impressive. Okay, yes, 95% of the time our cars are parked. You want to pick one?
Get the gold sticker.
According to my insurance company.
Oh,
Okay, which, you want to pick one?
health.
Health, okay. So health, how many, so basically, we're all supposed to walk 30 minutes a day, all of us, but only 5% of Americans do. However, for folks that really try to ride transit, they actually walk, 29% of them walk 30 minutes a day. Because there's something lovely about the bus stop is a couple blocks away, so you have to walk, it makes you get out, it's like having a dog. It kind of forces you to walk a couple blocks that you weren't gonna do anyway. So, yeah, transit riders actually walk 19 minutes a day on average. And they also get their steps in, so they're 4 times more likely to get their 10,000 steps a day. And the things that, speaking of health, it's super relaxing to ride the bus instead of driving into the Dalles, for example, because you can do all sorts of things that you can't do on the bus, including snuggle or stare at the sky, relax, write, read, pull out a book in a way, like you could have an extra, you could read a book. In a way that you cannot do when you're driving. So, yeah, there's something that's slower paced about taking transit and like kind of baking it into your schedule. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go a little bit faster. How many towns can you reach by bus in the gorge? How many towns, if you were just to go by bus, how many towns does it reach?
15.
Must,
9.
more?
Right, cows.
No,
18.
Four.
Oh.
21.
less.
20.
You should do that.
Accessibility.
Accessibility, okay, this is one of my favorites. So one of the things about the buses is that they're all the buses in the gorge and everywhere are mobility accessible. So they're just a really great way to get around without having to have your own mobile,
You know who you got in that picture there?
with that.
Former Goldendale Mayor Mark Sigfrinius. Yeah.
He is a great model and I have lots of really good pictures of him. Because so transit is a great way to get around. You can go anywhere with transit, which is fantastic. And in the gorge, we now have a new website called accessiblegorge.com. And what accessiblegorge.com does is list all of the different, so if you go to like Make My Day Cafe, you would look at that up on Gorge, Accessible Gorge, and it would show you how wide the doors are, what kind of seats they have, what the bathroom looks like. So you know your own your own disability. So you would look at the list and go, okay, if this fits for me or not, and you just know before you go. So we have 77 different sites in Washington and another, growing number 20, 30 in Oregon, and it includes trailheads and such. So it's just this growing thing that we're building, and transit is a huge piece of it. So we're also about to do accessible app audit, I would say. So information for every single bus stop in the gorge as well. So if you're riding the bus, you can know what the ground is like when you get to that spot to see if you can navigate it or not. Okay. I'm not gonna, it's a $58 billion industry, by the way, accessible travel. So folks traveling or disabled. So a potential something to come to the gorge, just with the tourism. Not that we all got there. Okay, what's next? A couple really quick, what's the average cost of car each year? So if you own a car, every year you spend an average of this amount.
Take a guess, Steve.
Does that include
Not
gas?
including the cost of the vehicle?
It includes maintenance and financing,
Oh,
fuel, insurance.
10,000?
Yes, exactly.
wow.
You guys,
Good
seriously,
point,
it's
Steve.
not in the back. Okay, you wanna pick one? I don't know if you can see, either cost or dogs
Or what's
or
new?
what's next.
Let's do dogs.
Okay, this one's really quick. You know that you can take your dog on every single bus in the gorge. All you need is put it on a leash, take your dog for a ride, take your cat in a carrier, go for a ride. Okay. All right, how many riders did we have in the gorge in 2023?
$10,500.
More,
15,000.
more,
17.
more,
20,000.
more.
Wow.
Wow. Lauren, take us
I
out.
was gonna say 10, so I'm way out. $1.
Way more.
100,000.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
105,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so what's really cool, I'm just gonna jump into riders because I feel like we're getting close to our. Okay, so I'm gonna shift to riders. What's super cool, and that's gorge wide, but what's really great is that ridership is growing every year. Like, it's just gaining and gaining in popularity. These are the numbers from Quick You can see, when they launched, they had 8,000 that first year. Guess what happened in 2020? That doesn't really count. The entire, any bus service took a massive dip in COVID, but what was really cool is that the buses in the gorge bounced back much faster than most transit providers. So you can see from there, and that is the arrow direction of every transit provider in the gorge, and it shows no signs of slowing.
And these numbers are just specific to the Clickitat County fixed route, so that's the Golden Dale to the Dalles route and the White Salmon Hood River route, so run Monday through Friday, 7 to 7. And so, and we are continuing to see increases, so even from 2023, July of this year, just the Golden Dale to the Dalles route, we had 560 riders on just the Golden Dale to the Dalles route. So, and that was up about 100 from last year. So, continuing to see growth in that.
Okay, we are doing rider surveys. That's one of the things that is part of the transit strategy. So every quarter, we go ride every single route and talk to people about why. So we know the riders, but why? Why are they riding? And so we're asking where you're going, why are you using transit, what's working, what can be improved, right? It's very simple, but it's a very important piece of what we're doing. We have a video for you. I'm hoping that this works because it's really interesting to hear just a couple of folks say why they're riding and get a sense of who they are and what they're doing. Hoping this works.
I also drive the bus for Mountain Transportation. I have folks who drive the bus who are coming to work. They maybe use the bike drop on the front. Maybe they just hop on downtown and come across the river to their place of business. It's always interesting to see who does it and why.
I've seen all different kinds of people. I've seen younger people, I've seen couples, I've seen people my age.
And I live here in Golden Dale, down to Portland pretty regularly to the airport. Cause I fly back east to see my kids, and often I leave my car for extended periods, and as everybody knows, it's quite expensive, so I catch the bus.
I started riding the bus back in September as the direct result of the bridge tolling going up. So 2 days a week, I can ride the bus to work. And then also last year, I had a whole bunch of physical therapy I was doing. And I rode the bus every day for physical therapy.
I use it to get back and forth from work and to be very independent from my mom and dad. And we had to basically take him back and forth to work. We didn't know about the wet bus at the time. And it has been, of course, gas savings, all of those type of things, you know, where the car, the economy, the ecology and everything, less driving. And it's been great.
So having the bus is so convenient. You can go to the stores, you can go to the doctor. It's really important.
My boyfriend lives in Portland, and so the Columbia Gorge Express has literally changed our relationship, really. It's made everything so much easier, so much more like stress-free, and I don't have to worry about parking, and I don't have to worry about the rain. I hate driving in the rain, so I get someone else to do it for me. It is wonderful.
And a bus is for people who don't drive, or they do drive, it will save them on gas money too.
And that's what it looks like, and this is something that people can get, and it works for all 4 transit systems.
I have a Gorge Pass, I love it. I ride the bus to Portland pretty regularly from Cascade Box. It's great.
Do you recommend using the shuttle to get to downtown too?
Hold on, this is actually blowing my mind that it goes all over the halls.
Goes all the board, yes.
You can reach 20 to the trailhead.
Like, I literally grew up here and didn't realize this, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Pretty good.
In Goldendale, I think it's huge because there are people who can't walk around, for instance. Be able to get the bus to go to the grocery store, to take the bus to get to school. You know, your kids are gonna be safe on the bus.
I can say without a doubt, there's one of the most important aspects of a vibrant community is the public transit system.
And so I
Good
think,
morning. My name is Paul Blackman. I'm the
Sorry.
mayor.
and then we have what's new. So some of the upcoming, plans is to actually have a connector route. So I'm currently applying for another grant with Washington State Department of Transportation. And we have, some matching funds that are being provided from Mid-Columbia Economic Development District, and they have some money from ODOT, and that's to do a connector route that would connect all up 14. So right now, you know, we have the Golden Dale to the Dalles, and then we have White Salmon, Bingen to Hood River, but we don't have a long 14 in between to get like connection between White Salmon and Golden Dale and Lyle communities. So we're looking at a connector route that would connect from Bingen, White Salmon to connect where our bus meets in Dallasport. So that folks would be able to get on the bus from, you know, Golden Dale. They can either go to the Dalles or they can stay on 14, get to Lyle, Bingen, White Salmon, or even, and then connect even to Skamania County, which we connect with at the Hood River Bridge to get all the way down to Vancouver. And then, of course, still going across if people want to get to the Dalles and connect and go to Portland that way. And then that also provides some opportunity. You know, we do have, you know, Pato public passage. The Pato transit system does come 4 days a week, has stops here in Golden Dale where people can get on and connect to Yakima Transit and go east to Toppenish and Yakima as well. So trying to get more connections, and we do have a lot of people that are, you know, the transit center that we connect to in the Dalles is the Greyhound transit station as well. So we do have people that are connecting to get on, you know, Greyhound and get to other areas as well. So looking at just ways to really have more opportunities for, again, for people for a number of different reasons, work, education, because we do have, that's been one of the big pieces that we had feedback from students doing Running Start programs and that they can get access to the Columbia Gorge Community Colleges to go to in-person classes as well. So, so excited about growth and access, so.
Travel trainer, Eve.
Oh, yeah. Eve Elderwell has been, so there's a grant that they were able to get to have a travel trainer on the Washington side of the gorge. Eve is part-time, and she is doing travel training specific to Klickitat and Skamania County. And so she is available to help people plan trips, as well as take people on public transit trips to get them comfortable with riding the bus. So, and she's done very specific outreach with kids at the schools, especially in some of the special education programs and developmental disability adults and folks where they've done a planned trip and then done the, you know, and then she's ridden on to show them how easy it is to change buses. She's done it with a number of seniors, too, that are still, you know, pretty mobile and independent, but we're a little bit, you know, unsure about public transit. And so this then also frees up the dial-a-ride service for people that really need that more physical assistance, door-to-door help, or within a bus route. So Eve is, can be contacted. We have her phone number. She's also able to put in a request on the Gorge Transit website. Just to get either more information on trip planning, how to access the route schedules, or actually scheduling something to actually ride with her to get comfortable.
Then Fiona has a question.
Yeah. I was gonna stop sharing on Zoom number.
Hi, I'm having a hard time with my internet. I'm wondering if when it's off video, it's working better. But I was wondering about the city bus stops that we actually have here in town. How do they look? How could we improve them? Would it be more beneficial to the community if we actually put some effort into what what I don't think we do have? And then also, what is it that that we as a city could help in this endeavor, like throughout the community, not just this community, but we're talking about the whole county going all the way to Portland. We have a lot of people that need to get that way from here, and some of them may be coming from even further. So I will stop there and let you answer.
Yeah, it's great that you bring that up because that is a major area of, and things that people bring up regularly is, when we started the fixed route, because it was challenging to get the funding to even start it, it was sandwich boards at whatever location we could put them. It's still sandwich boards at a number of locations, but we have been successful and do plan on applying for more grants to be able to develop more actual bus covered shelters and stops. Especially, we have, I know just like even Witch Ram has been a very popular stop both directions, and it also is very susceptible to those extreme weather conditions there. It's kind of not that great to stand out in those elements. But there's quite a bit that goes into, depending on the location and the regulations within, state highways versus there's a lot of those barriers, but we are planning to do in there. We have, that is something, like the city of Bingen and city of White Salmon are doing, like White Salmon actually has purchased some just benches to put at the stops that we have, existing wise that they're putting out now with a plan. We have tried to apply for a couple of grants that we haven't been successful with yet, but right now there's an evaluation of all the different stops and shelters to try and hopefully as a region go in and get funding for that, because we're finding that, we're getting really positive results that we're looking at both a bi-state as well as a multiple county region. They're really liking that partnership and that collaboration versus just being kind of siloed. And so I think we will be successful in getting that. And certainly where we could get support is, letters of support for different grants that we may be applying for, or if you come across something or if you have some huge pot of money sitting aside, that I know everybody has, right? But anytime that we can look at, or if you come across something that we might be able to actually pursue a grant for and partner on, we'd certainly like to do that. And it is in our planning. It's just something that we wish it could happen faster, but it takes quite a bit of time and money. We have a shelter that we were able to get a grant for. It was actually the Port of Klickitat, down at Bingen Point had provided the cash and in-kind match for that. But just even a really small enclosed shelter, we're talking $15,000. And those are the cheap ones, which I think some people don't think it's that much, but it's a lot of money in my budget. But we are working towards and having kind of consistency across the area, but that is something we are working towards, and certainly we'll reach out in terms of letter support or other ways that we might be able to partner on that.
Well, you can reach out to me directly and I can try to reach out to you directly. I'll just get your information off of the pamphlet. I think that there are a few things that we as a city can do for residents here. as far as like maybe a covered bench, in a couple of the locations that you feel are the busiest. Um, I do think maybe we, as a city, could also reach out to Wishram and see if, but really that's more of a county thing. So maybe the county could reach out and we as a city can reach out to the county as well and see if they'd be willing to maybe do something better down there. I know that's actually been needed for quite some time because that is a central location for people to get to Seattle, Portland, and uh, uh, sorry, I don't go up there that often. What's all the way up at Spokane? All the way up in the eastern part. So that
It can also be part of beautification. There's a lot of fun examples online that you can find of, yeah, people having fun with benches and what have you.
And that's.
And
one of the
we're gonna
projects
We're
that-
gonna do a contest, so having each community kind of get a group together and see, and with, you know, some ideas and see what we can pull together and who wins and get it funded and part of the fun.
Quick question, the pass, it doesn't include the max in Portland, does it?
It does.
Okay. I didn't figure it did, but I wanted to ask. And also the art, committee and the city and everyone's invited to a thing on Thursday at the library. We're trying to make it an art district. If that happens, then that would be a great point of contact for you guys to talk to in regards to it, because then that opens up grants and funds from the state for art specific.
Nice. Yeah. It's great. Never have too many benches.
Did anybody?
I apologize. That was a Verizon, not me. If anyone has Verizon, please call them.
Thanks. Did anybody else have any questions or comments?
And certainly anybody that has, feedback on transportation issues, things like that, I'm Sharon C. at cricketcounty.org, or through the website, main contact person on there too. And, we do some events where we're asking for public comment for, especially in service transportation planning. We don't get a lot of turnout, and so it's like we do, as people are thinking of things, if we can hear about different pieces and even if it's something we can't do right now, we keep a list of all that feedback to try to look at improving and expanding and again, a lot of it is a funding issue, but I think the partnerships that have been developed and that benefits that we're getting will provide some more strength to our grant applications and possibly more expansions.
I say last one thing, we all love our cars, obviously, we live in rural, but it's really fun to hop on a bus and go into downtown, the Dallas, with a friend or on a date and come on back. It's just lovely. You feel like a little bit of a vacation within just a couple hours, so maybe that could be your first one. Maybe even a couple years, I'll ask the first question and somebody will raise their hand.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming. What a fun presentation that was. You guys do a great job on that and just really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Well, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda.
I don't know if you need schedules, any more schedules, like an extra.
Oh,
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, wonderful.
Great.
Pass one of those down, please.
Well, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. You betcha. All right, well, next item on the agenda is department reports, and we'll start with Fire Chief Noah Holm.
Thanks, Mayor. So we applied for the FEMA grant, assistance firefighting grant. We were awarded $29,936.19 for the walker extractor and gear dryer. Is to wash and dry our bunker gear. So we will be purchasing that shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. Is that all?
I better say it
Oh.
does have a 5% match on it.
Okay.
So it's
That's a real good match. I mean,
like less than $1,500.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a match.
that's excellent. Yes, Police Chief Mike Smith.
Got nothing.
Nothing from Police Chief today. Oh, City Administrator Sandy Wells?
Hey, I just want to remind everybody, then we have a budget committee meeting on September 9th at 2. And then the WCIA training is also on the 9th at 4. And then there's a council workshop at 6. So it gave me, and then also on our new website, if anybody in the community is interested, they can call the city and subscribe, or you can set it up, subscribe on our website, our new one. Then anytime that we post an agenda or meeting minutes, anything on there, then they get notifications, so. And that just emails to them and lets them know that we've posted something on our website.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think right now we have like 25, 27, something around there. So,
Great. Well, thank you, Sandy. And just a few things I was gonna mention about the wastewater treatment plant. It's getting close to being tied in, and this month in September, we should be getting delivery of the screw press, and the aerators will be arriving this month. And just wanted to mention to the city council, if anybody wants to go take a look at that wastewater treatment plant, just give me a holler and we'll set something up. It's real interesting. I've been out there several times, and you can hear all about what's going on out there with the improvements, but when you can lay your eyes on it yourself and get a tour from our actual wastewater treatment plant operator, it really makes things make more sense. So, more than welcome. Just give us a holler and we can set that up if you'd like to take a look out there. And don't worry about it being gross. It's not. It's people always think it's gonna stink real bad there, but it doesn't. It's not that kind of plant. And when I took a tour of it, it was all explained to me why. It's because the type of plant it is, the aeration of it. Noah knows way more about it than I do. But yeah, I just found it really fascinating. And it's a huge part of our city infrastructure, critical things like our water system delivery and how we handle our wastewater treatment. It's crucial in the operation of the city. And of course, we know that the water line replacement project is underway right now. On September 9th, there'll be extra crews showing up, so they'll be doing double crews to get that project moving even faster. That's another really important thing that we do. It's our water. We can't have a city without water. So anyways, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And that'll be under council business, a capital outlay request for a building department vehicle. And so the building department vehicle is no longer operational. After evaluation of all the options, the building department requests a replacement vehicle. The budget committee has met on this matter and is recommending a replacement vehicle. We received 5 quotes comparing SUVs versus small truck and found the Ford Ranger is the least expensive option. Attached is the vehicle buyer's order sheet for a Ford Ranger pickup. Also is attached is the recommendation from our CPA Jen Forsberg, and there's the financial impact of $43,563 and change.
I move to authorize a capital outlay request from the current expense fund to replace the building department vehicle in the amount of $43,563.31.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to authorize the request for the fund to replace the vehicle. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That was a vote for in favor.
Theo, was that in favor or opposed? It's kind of a delay.
I was in favor. Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
you.
Thank you, everyone. I will move on to the next item. And it's a amendment for interlocal joint use agreement with the Central Clickitat Conservation District. I'll let Lauren proceed. Thank you, Lauren.
So Executive Director, Central Clickitat Conservation District, local government here in Clickitat County, which covers Clickitat River to Rock Creek and is overseen by a board of 5 local landowners and agricultural operators. We have a current agreement with the city to utilize some space in the back half of the city hall here that is unutilized. And we've used that for our Forest Health Crew, which is a new program that we've staffed up this last year. And the same crew that's been put in, well, probably thousands of hours now up on Observatory Hill, working in that wildland urban interface to reduce the fuels on Observatory Hill and just be more prepared for wildfire and have more resiliency in the event of a wildfire. So we staffed up. We are short on space because we've also added a few more employees to help with project development. We're looking at purchasing a building and shop in town, but that's at least a few months out. So I'm just coming back to the city to ask if we can utilize a bit more of that unused space for the back half of City Hall, which is updated in this agreement here. And the request is to utilize 5 spaces back there. Currently, we're utilizing 2. Actually utilizing 3, one that I thought was in the original agreement, and so we're a city administrator, but we missed that and just got it here recently. So the request is to use 5 spaces at the back half of the city hall that is currently used. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Steve.
This is a short-term agreement.
Yeah, hopefully we're in a new space here in the next 3 to 4 months. So we're currently in negotiations on a shop and an office space in town.
And just to make sure, so the city doesn't pay you guys to do all of the work that you guys are doing, correct? So basically, this is a way that the city, I think, can give back a little bit to help you guys, well, since you need the space.
Yeah, we're definitely in a bit of a growth challenge position right now, but yeah, the funds that we utilize to do the forest health work comes from the Climate Commitment Act, just through the Washington State Conservation Commission. And so all that work that's done on Observatory Hill and other past projects we partnered on have been covered by grant resources.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that so that, you know, we can.
Theon has a question.
Yes, Theon.
Hi, so I was just curious about how far down are we going to Rock Creek? I mean, do we have agreement with the Native Americans down there, the tribe? Or is it just out only within county? Not within tribal lands or?
No, so this request only is specific to the city of Goldendale property, not with respect to other areas in the conservation district.
Okay, otherwise I totally agree with the usage of, you know, because I mean, why waste space if we can utilize it for better good? And yes, absolutely. I think I agree. So I think we should definitely utilize those spaces.
And certainly if there's a need, you know, the city has a need to utilize that space, we could, you know, it's in the agreement that we can move out of that space. But at this time, it's open and available right next door. So it's really beneficial to us.
Yes, Steve.
This agreement is just concerning this office space here, correct?
Right.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the amended joint interlocal agreement between the Central Clickitat Conservation District and the city of Goldendale.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Yes, Steve.
I always get uneasy when I look at a document like this that has all this legal, technical word salad in it over something as benign as renting some office space.
Yeah, it's a standard format that's been utilized in the past by the city, so that's just what was brought forward.
This is a city format?
That was the original agreement, and then we just redline version, the change of adding the other 3 offices that in the space. That was the original agreement with just the changes for the three.
And the original agreement was something that Pat and Mayor Canyon had
I believe,
screwed up and something.
Yes.
Utilized that.
they might have had that for maybe another agreement and they just kind of put in. So, yes, but that was the only thing that we did, was just red line version, the original agreement.
Well, I'm a firm believer in simple, and this is anything but simple.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of legal terms that we have to put in there as far as to protect the city of, I think it pertains to like damage. You know, if there's damage done by, you know, the person that's in the back, then, or if there's something that could be a joint cost, I mean, those are all things that have to be in there. Who provides what services, or anything that might happen, to look ahead, look for disasters, and it, all of that is covered under that agreement, or if we want to terminate the agreement early by either the conservation district can, or we can with a written notice. Those are all just legal terms that we have to put in there as well.
It is a lot, but I think in terms of simple, it makes it simple if anything goes wrong.
Correct.
Instead of lots of unknowns, and if something goes wrong or changes, then it's not covered up front, so.
Right.
This is the format we've used in the past to rent that out.
Yes, so there's usually a form, and I believe they're about that same agreement for anybody that has been back there.
Because that used to be the police department, and then when the police department moved out, for a while, we were renting it out to,
Probably 3 or 4 I think 4 officers
Yeah.
rented back there for so years, then slowly they moved out, and then it was just empty.
That's how I first came to know it, was the old jail.
yeah.
It wasn't that nice when we had it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I have a motion and
Well,
a
I just
second.
wanted to say
Oh,
out of
yes.
this,
Oh, go ahead, Theon.
just out of discussion, I just wanted to say that, it did take me a while, Steve, to read over a lot of this today, because I wasn't able to get, I got the packet online, but I wasn't able to get my actual packet, and it was a lot easier to read. So I spent about an hour and a half going over it, and I think it's totally diligent, and it really is just about utilizing that space and being able to get a lot done. With what we're working on now for the city and the park. It'll be a great utilization of the space, I think, for all of us. That's just my opinion, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you. And when you're ready to do a count.
Okay, anybody else? I have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote then. All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Theon, you're on mute.
I,
For
yeah,
Okay,
I am.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Thank
do you abstain? One abstention. Okay. Great, that passes. We'll move on to the next item. And that's the park use ordinance. You know, the ordinance committee has met to discuss changes and revisions of the park use code. And attaches their recommendation. Now, is what I'd like to do, it's up to you guys, is what I'd like to do is I'd like to get a motion to table this until the next city council meeting. And schedule another ordinance committee meeting to work out a couple issues on this. And another ordinance that has been brought to my attention that we need to work on. The reason I'd like to table this one is there's some issues that have been brought by staff when they read this concerning the fees on the last page. For instance, where it says fees and you see it's in blue, one sector of the park, it was 50 and that bumps it up to 150. Well, one of the issues that was brought up was if someone just wanted to rent that, use that gazebo at Oconee for a birthday party or something. You know, if they want to reserve it right now, we charge them $50 and then they can have electricity there and a garbage can. Well, it was brought up that bring the cost up to $150 just for a family to rent that gazebo for a birthday party. Maybe we want to rethink that, and there was a couple other little wording issues, so this was the first reading, so I'll leave it up to council. Yes, Lauren?
Just gonna move to table it for further
I
staff
second.
input.
Okay, great, thank you. I have a motion and a second to table this for the next council meeting, and I'd like to get an ordinance committee meeting set up after this. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling this till the next?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. And well, I figure when she says aye, that's a vote in the affirmative, so we can go.
Yeah.
So yes, we can go with that. Okay, great. Well, thanks. And now we'll move on to report of officers.
Do you want to schedule ordinance?
Yeah. Let's do that right now. Thank you, Lauren. Ordinance committee. Can we schedule an ordinance committee meeting to deal with this and another issue that has been brought up by staff that we need to fix on a couple of ordinances? Okay. Ordinance committee is Ellie, Lauren, and Myland. I can get with Myland tomorrow and see about that, but do you guys have any
I think this Thursday is pretty open for me. I'm not sure how soon you're wanting to schedule.
well, yeah, I'd like to, I'm so booked up on Wednesday and Thursday. Can we get into next week and clear up a couple things? Is anybody September 11th or 12th?
As long as it's after 5.
Okay. How's that work for you, Lauren? Is September 11th is 5:30 okay?
Yes.
Wednesday, the 11th?
Okay, yep, Wednesday, the 11th at 5:30. Okay, and I'll give Mylan a call and make sure that works for him, and we'll plan for that then. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll move on.
Can I just say there might be a possibility of a September 11th? Isn't that gonna be, is there a possibility of festivities going on those evenings for 9/11 or
I don't have anything on my.
I'm not part of the ordinance committee. I'm just bringing that up. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Well, we can always adjust that if something comes up, but for now, we'll just stick with that, and I'll talk to Mylan tomorrow about it too. Okay, well, thanks. Now we'll move on to report of officers, and let's start over here with Danielle Clevenance.
Hi, I do have a couple things and I apologize for that, but
No problem.
I do want to reiterate about the town hall meeting this Thursday at 6 o'clock at the library is to discuss a Goldendale Creative District, which will help, it could help the whole city in a lot of different areas, but for grants and things like that, it would be really helpful to get that here. Secondly, I would like to ask about the quote, or if we got a quote back from the DOT, the state DOT about Broadway.
I had that on my report, but
Okay, that's okay.
we'll talk about it right now. That's fine. Yes, so is what we did is we reached out to the Washington State Department of Transportation concerning the Broadway parking issue because we needed to get their input and everything. And as we were talking with the head of the Department of Transportation, she mentioned that the state does those traffic studies as well. We talked about it in one of our committee meetings as well, but anyway, so we went ahead and said, okay, let's get a quote. She said within the next couple of weeks, she'll get back with a quote from us for that Broadway parking study. And then we'll look at that'll give us 3 quotes to go with. The thing that'd be nice to go with the Washington State Department of Transportation's is we have to coordinate with them anyway. They want to be involved in any decision-making that happens on that road. So if they were to go ahead and do that study, that would probably be beneficial to us, depending on, how much it costs. So as soon as we get that information back, we'll present the options to you and make a decision from there which way we want to go.
That's great. I thought that it was gonna be a week that they got back to you.
She did get back to us in a week, but now it's gonna be another week or
Okay,
two.
I just don't
Yes,
want the
the-
ball dropped on it. 'cause
No,
this is
it's not.
pretty
She has to
important.
reach out to their traffic department that's ahead of there, and I believe she said he was on vacation.
Okay.
So there
Yeah.
was just some coordinating of that, but she said they are working on that.
Oh,
So
awesome.
it might be either the week of the 9th or the week of the 16th that she's gonna get that quote back to us.
Great, thank you. So I also was wondering, when we have really big packets, if there's a possibility for us to get them earlier. Like last meeting was so much to go through and we didn't understand a lot of it throughout, I think, in accordance, or as far as the Simcoe one goes, I mean, that was so thick and a lot of it was legal stuff. You guys are closed on Fridays now, so we couldn't ask on Fridays any questions about it. A lot of people work on Mondays, so that would have given us that only time to ask questions on it. So when we get big things like that, I think for us to do our due diligence,
Mhm.
if we got it earlier, that would be much better for
So
us.
per ordinance, the council, anything that's part of the packet has to be to us by Wednesday. And I actually do the packet on Thursday and put it in your box. But our ordinance states that anybody that turns anything up Wednesday prior to the meeting gets to be added to the packet.
Okay.
So we can't even start the packet until Thursday, and so I do it that day, and it's in your box and on the website. For some of those, if there is a planning one that's that big, sometimes we're waiting to get that information. If we get that type of information, I can try to email it to you ahead of time. That one was waiting on some attorneys and some other language, and so we really didn't get it until the last minute. But
I think maybe.
if you email us any questions, we always have our emails. Dave and I check them even over the weekends.
Can we take that topic to the next ordinance committee meeting that we just scheduled, so we can revisit that ordinance and see if we need to adjust the timelines to make it, council more functional for items like that?
Mhm.
And then on the Broadway topic, I was just gonna suggest that we may want to take that back to the Public Works Committee. Depending on the results of the washed-out budget estimate, because the scope of work may change for wanting to put out an RFQ to other entities. So just be good to revisit the Public Works Committee before bringing that back to the council.
Yeah, good idea. Okay,
Thank you, Dave.
okay,
Okay, I still have more, and again, I
Okay.
apologize, but
no problem.
okay, so, can we have the mayor pro tem possibly learn how to record our meetings and or do the minutes or something like that, or have somebody else so that we don't have to cancel another meeting? Because we never did reschedule a meeting for what we were, and all of us were in big favor of having that meeting.
Mhm.
And we never rescheduled it, so now there's a month that went by that we couldn't talk about the things that we all were wanting to talk about. So is there a possible that we can make that happen? Or anyone actually in the city council to be able to learn how to do that so that we can
Learn how to operate the,
do whatever we need to do to make the meeting happen without, if you're not here, or
Sure.
if anyone who doesn't know how to record the meetings. I guess the things that we would need to know is how to record the meeting, how to set up the computer and take notes. I'm assuming taking notes too.
Well, we record it and then we type the notes out.
Okay, well then just recording it. That way we don't have to
yeah, I'm
worry about it. We can still do it.
sure we could work on that. I learned how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then is the code enforcement or building permit person, are they ever required to come to meetings? Since it is one of our council committees?
Yes, our code enforcement officer, he comes to some of the committee meetings. He was at the last ordinance committee meeting.
I mean, the city council.
Oh,
meetings, I'm
city
sorry.
council meeting. We can, I can request that from time to time. Yes, Lauren?
I'm not 100% sure on this, but if my memory serves correct, I think that we had it in the job description that they provide a report once a month or once a month or once a quarter. We did something like that, so maybe revisit the job description, because I think there was a schedule to get updates from the code enforcement.
Okay.
In the job description.
And with that, I would say, you know, maybe have it not be the city council meeting, but the organizational meeting. That way we can bring up different things that we think are important during that without wasting the time of everybody that comes to these meetings.
So you don't want him at the council meeting, you want him at.
At the organizational meeting, the one that we are having once a month now,
The workshop?
the workshop, yes. Unless anyone else has something that they think would be better for that, but I think, you know, there's a lot of questions and people from the city ask a lot of questions, and that way we'll have them here and can talk about those things. The only other thing that I had was, has Adopt a Highway program ever been brought up on either Broadway or 97?
Not that I've been aware
Okay. I'm gonna look into that and I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Great. Thanks, Danielle.
That's it.
Theon. Did you have a report?
I do not have a report, but I definitely agree with a lot of things that Danielle just said. And I think that some of I would love to reschedule that meeting. I don't know what availability I'm gonna have next week or the week after, but you said you would contact us and you're okay with, and I'm okay with that.
The next workshop is scheduled for next Monday, the 9th at 6 p.m.
Oh, then I'm already gonna be there, but
Right.
okay. All right. Okay, I'm there with you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys letting me do this Zoom. And I look forward to seeing you in person when we can. If not, I would like to be able to learn how to do the Zoom as well so that we can still do this and record it on our other meetings. And I am so grateful that everybody has picked up the slack of meeting every single month, or sorry, every single week for our different committees. And I think that it will eventually start to show. We're just getting started. So good job. Appreciate
Okay,
it, guys.
thank you, Theon. Ellie. Lauren.
I don't have a report, but I would like to just put a placeholder for that ordinance committee meeting that we just touch on zoning. We had some conversations about revisiting our zoning and just to start the conversation at the next ordinance committee meeting, please.
Okay, thank you. Steve.
I'm just gonna hit on the ordinance. We've been talking a lot about ordinance, which is very reassuring. Real reassuring, but I think the council has spent too many years ignoring our ordinances, not this council. I'm just talking historically. And I'm going to assume one of those items that you mentioned has been brought up, added to this upcoming ordinance committee meeting, is this one that I brought up regarding maintenance of our right of ways and easements.
Yes. Yes, Sandy, we were talking about that earlier.
We have been talking about that with Public Works, because fortunately there's like, I think 6 or 7 different ordinances that talk about our public right of way. But some of them refer to a city manager. They were done in, I think it was written in 1991, that is responsible for getting notification to the adjacent property owner. Some of them said that the city council sends out letters to the adjacent property owner. Some of them say the chief of police can go out and arrest them if they're in violation of some of the right-of-way orders. So there's just been some discrepancy with some of that. We do have the vegetation ordinance that has been updated in our nuisance code. And so that one is updated. That I think was just a few years ago when we updated some of that, might have been within the last 5 years. And so that one seems to be the most updated, so it does cover some of those things, but we have sent that off to our attorney to kind of review and see if we can kind of adjust some of that language so it all says the same thing versus having it say several different other things. And then we're of course taking it to the ordinance committee once we hear back from him, but we were kind of looking to see what other cities do as far as the language goes, because sometimes we'll talk about the language, but they don't talk about what happens if you're in violation of that. It just kind of just says you're responsible and that's it. And so we're kind of looking at of how we can improve it, so we can say, okay, well, here's what happens also if you are in violation. So we are reviewing those and seeing what other cities kind of write into theirs to make it so it's all the same, instead of having so many different ones.
Okay, well, I can see with this is all definitely overdue, cleaning up the language for sure. But I brought this up year after year after year after year. And the weeds still keep growing year after year after year after year. And I'm going to mention one area in town that is very critical, highly sensitive. And it's Northeast High Street. It's the west end of Northeast High Street on the north side. Right there at the intersection between Northeast High and Columbus. There's a pasture there. Actually, it's pretty pristine. 500 yards down through there. There's at least 3 property owners there that have that property. If I don't like to be the sky is falling, that person, but you can imagine what would happen if, let's think right now, this is one of the worst situations we've had there for overgrown grass along that chunk of road. If that caught on fire under the right conditions, it'd take out most of Observatory Hill, and we don't know how many homes in the process. And we keep wringing our hands year after year after year after year. How are we gonna do this? It's gotta be done. We've got the ordinance. How come it's not enforced? Now, if the language is part of, the language definitely is part of it. But permanently, we have to get on top of this issue. We're in a drought. We've been in a drought situation for a number of years, and it's not gonna go away next year. In fact, it seems to be getting worse. But anyway, Sandy made a copy, and it's been gonna be given to the ordinance committee. And its heading is types of nuisances, and one paragraph does address public right of way and who is responsible for it. So we've got the language there. Now we need to be able to enforce it. We've got to enforce it. This language that you're going to be working on is going to have to address that. And the penalties are going to have to be such that they can't just brush us off. Because this is what happens with a lot of our ordinances. Our penalties are so flimsy, so small, no big deal.
Or they're just not enforced at all.
Or they're not enforced at all. And again, like I say, I've been bringing this up for years, and there is no headway being made on it. And I'm going to keep bringing it up until one of 2 things happen. One, half the town burns down, or I see some real results from enforcement.
So can we get a time limit on when this can be done by?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the situation. Like right now is not the time to go in there. It is so tinder dry. You stand a chance of starting a fire, cut the weeds down. We're gonna have to bite the bullet again this year. We've got to put a program in place. Now, if the ordinance committee can clean up the language, possibly we can go through Public Works to put together, to develop a program to address it.
So we do have for large vegetation and those large lots, we do have a list that we've done in the past. Unfortunately, we lost our code enforcement officer right in between that time of when those were sent out. I'm assuming he sent them out. We'll have to wait and find out. So he did send out the large lot letters. We send them out every year, and then in the past, they've made sure that some of them are being chopped down, or the grass is being cut or scheduled to be cut. Unfortunately, like I said, we did lose our code enforcement officer in between where it was safe to mow versus then it was too dry by the time current gentleman got into the office. And so there was a lapse of this year, but I would imagine next year he'll be more on top of those large lot letters.
Okay, Lauren.
Couple of things for our next ordinance committee meeting is, can our code enforcement officer be present?
Yeah.
Can we get copy of the, what'd you say, 7 or 11 different ordinances that address this?
Yep.
Ahead of time?
Yes, I put them in your box right now, at least the ones that Steve asked me to, the right of way.
Okay, you said there was a bunch.
There
that
was
sent.
some other ones that talk about just right of way, not so much vegetation. Those are the ones that specifically were about the planting strip and vegetation. The other ones that we had were, I think there's 5 of them that talk about just the right of way in general. And so, yes, I
Could you
can
send
print
those to
those off.
the committee members along
Yep,
with
I
any
can send it to you in
examples
an
from other
email.
cities? Okay, and then, to tag on to what you're saying, Steve, I think too, the city has to get better about maintaining the right of way themselves and dealing with the weed control, because we've talked about this several times over the years, and there's knapweed, hound's tongue, skeleton weed. I mean, look at Byers that we just did, and there was no follow through on the contract, and it's all weeds and a massive fire hazard. So I think that I make a motion that the budget committee recommends or reaches out to get a actual line item for city of Goldendale weed control in the right of ways, because it's bad. It needs to be addressed. And if we have a budget item, there could be some more accountability actually implementing that. Or we can find out if there's resources we need to reach out to do a better job of our weed control on our right of ways on our city streets.
So what's
Is
your
that-
motion?
Well, that'll be
Oh,
another,
sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Wanting a
Let me
motion.
abbreviate that. My mouth ran on.
Thank you.
Does that sometimes. I'd make a motion that we get a specific line item for weed control on city right of ways. Out of the budget committee.
And that falls in line with my suggestion of combining our ordinances, cleaning them up, put some teeth in them, and developing an actual program to address this other than ordinance.
is the way I read the ordinance.
I'll take that as a friendly amendment to include an actual weed control program. If I could get a second from my seatmate.
Is the way
I will second that.
Thanks, Steve. Sorry, thank you.
no problem.
I will second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Yes, Steve.
Other than, I just mentioned one critical area. Another critical area, I believe, is the floodplain. It's isolated, a lot of it's isolated because it's private property and it's just as bad. I mean, that area down along the creek and against that hill is very, very sensitive, very, very prone to serious fire. So like I say, I just use that one aerial there to illustrate the intensity here, but it's not just that area. So I'm sure once the committee gets working on it.
Before we vote on this, then maybe something that has to be done is the budget committee or whoever does it, Public Works, gives us a map of, that way we can see how much it would budget to make an enforcement program. Because if we don't know what we're enforcing or which areas so if we could have a map of those areas that you're talking about specifically, that people usually don't go down unless there is already something like that. Because the budget committee, it would be hard for the budget committee to vote on or put a budget in if we think that all it is that little area on High Street, when there's actually a lot of different places that we should be looking at. So what I'm asking for is if the budget committee can get some type of a map showing different things and what would need to be done in those places, so that we're educated when we decide it. Does that make sense?
Point of clarification for me.
Yeah,
So my motion was more towards, Public Works implementing the actual weed control on our right of ways, not towards enforcement. So this is work that Public Works Department would do, or hire a contractor to come in and take care of weed control on our right of ways, not the enforcement piece. The enforcement piece is on private lands.
because currently, as per our ordinance reads, the way I've read it, is that on the right of ways, the weed control is the responsibility of the property owner. for instance, on Byers Street that you mentioned. Those weeds, the way I've read the ordinance, those weeds that you reference along the sidewalk. As per the ordinance, those are the responsibility of the property owner. The way I've read the ordinance now.
My understanding is that Public Works has a program or has had a program in place in the past to manage some of the invasive weeds along the right of ways. And so I guess we
Okay.
need some clarification on that to see
True.
whose responsibility is where and make sure that it's being taken care of.
Good point.
So the city has sprayed along, just off the sidewalks for weed control in the past,
Mhm.
kind of serendipitously. So, again, the program would cover that. Now, as far as private, we've been discussing right of way and easement. Also in this ordinance is private property, your yard. It says 6 inches, specifically 6 inches of growth. So that pretty well covers it all. The thing is, the right of ways have always been a contentious issue between property owner and city and all this and that. But when it comes to just plain private property, no, it says it right there. But anyway, I will let it go at that. I appreciate the discussion and specific concern, really. And we'll let that one go. I just would like to add one more thing regarding Public Works. Dave mentioned the work that's going on out here. I can't remember what day or night it was. It was just within the last few days. Public Work crew had to make a connection out there. And they were out there for over 24 hours straight to make that connection. So they're stepping up.
I believe there was a broken water.
Something went south on them, and yeah, they were there for 24 hours straight.
It was actually, they worked a graveyard shift to add that pump in. They had to wait until the nighttime when there's less flow through it. So they split the shifts. They weren't there 24/7.
Some of them were, some of them were because they had a water leak.
There was 2 different crews with 2 different situations.
Oh, all, but some of us were. But anyway, I just wanted to give kudos to Public Works for getting her done.
Great, thank you, Steve. Now, we have a motion. And a second. But I can't remember what the motion was now.
As a line item for the weed control and the weed control program with Public Works.
Okay. All right. A motion and a second. Add a line item for weed control, for Public Works. Okay, and that'll be taken to the budget committee.
We didn't say that part. It was just a request that we could take it to the budget, but it wasn't in the motion.
Okay,
Probably should go to Budget Committee and Public Works Committee, just because it involves both those 2 areas. So I think, but I don't know if we need it in the motion.
okay. Okay, well,
So do you want to rescind the motion and then just take it to both committees for more clarification? Or do we want to keep the motion and make the,
I think that we should keep this motion, and then when they're finished with that, it should go to the budget committee
And Public Works.
and Public Works, so that we could, exactly.
so Public Works and then budget?
Yeah, so we could do that motion later, for the budget committee stuff.
Okay.
When that's finished, then
So do you want to make this motion as the program to go to the Public Works Committee? Is that your motion?
So the motion was to get a line item in the budget where weed control.
Yeah.
With the friendly amendment of developing a weed control program. But I think that. I mean, you take those to the 2 committees that they affect, the Public Works Committee and the Budget Committee. But if you want a specific motion for that, we could. Make a friendly amendment, or we could add a second motion after this, but I think that it just inherent in the nature of the work that it would go to those committees.
okay, yeah. All right. any further discussion on that motion?
Okay, so the motion is to take the line item, to add a line item for the weed control and develop a program by Public Works in our budget for next year.
Sure. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, thanks.
Not a vote.
And that, Steve was the last one, for report of officers. And, under mayor's report, I was gonna bring up the Department of Transportation Broadway parking issue, but I already covered that. I just wanted to, talk about something that Danielle brought up, is that Art Goldendale Creative District meeting that they're having on Thursday over at the library at 6 o'clock. Man, I was talking to a few people about that and reading some information. That sounds great. I encourage anybody who wants to learn more about it. I have some brochures and stuff about it, but it just really sounds like a worthwhile project that the local artists and art committee folks here are looking to undergo, and I'll be there for sure, and just really looking forward to learning more about it. It really opens up the doors to all sorts of grant opportunities for them, and it looks like a win-win to me. So anybody who'd like to learn more about that, give me a holler and I'll show you what I have to. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Or we have open public comment.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about the open public comment. Thank you. Oh, anybody here for public comment on the line? Nobody has their hand raised and there's nobody in the seats, so I'll close public comment and entertain a motion for adjournment.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thanks, everyone. We're adjourned.
That was a lot of good info, you guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.